Okay, so full disclosure, I've done 2 other videos just like this one. Go check them out afterwards, I'm really proud of them. But to spare you the details, each of these videos basically describes what if, in this case Darkstalkers, had a cinematic universe. And I know a lot of us are pretty burnt out by cinematic universes at this point, but this was just a fun thought experiment I thought of doing. So without further ado, let's get into it.
The dark shall be with us always.
Night Warriors, Darkstalkers Revenge. Wow, we're only on the first movie and I'm already cheating. That's gotta be a new record or something. But yes, for those who don't know, back in 1997, as promotional material for the second Darkstalkers game, they released a 4-part OVA that's basically a retelling of the story. And in all honesty, if you put these 4 episodes together, they form about 2.5 hours, minus the intros and outros, which is the normal length for an action movie these days. So if you put them all together, they could just become one movie. However, this doesn't mean that the movie doesn't need some changes. For one, 4 characters are killed off with less than a minute of screen time each. Those characters being Anacharis, Victor, Sasquatch, and Ricky. As well, some of the characters' lines would need to be rewritten to feel less clunky and not just be outright wrong. The most notable example of this comes from Felicia.
What you say, kitty cat? You want that I should save you a couple of souls?
Thanks for the offer, but I'm not much for organized religion.
And to anyone who doesn't know why that line was wrong, in her Darkstalkers 3 ending, Felicia literally opens up an orphanage and becomes a nun. Yes, the most revealing character in probably most of gaming history became a nun.
Darn you! Darn you all to heck!
So yeah, this movie definitely needs a few things changed, but overall, I feel like it's a serviceable first movie, which is why I'm keeping it here. Now let's move on to the second entry. Darkstalkers, Claws, Paws, and Quick Draws. Okay, before anyone says anything about the title of this movie, don't. Okay? Do we have an understanding? Good. Moving on. Now, the plot of this movie is going to follow Felicia and John Talbane, who have since teamed up since meeting for the first time in the last movie, against a common enemy, Baby Bonnie Hood, or BB Hood for short. Or Bulleta in Japan. I don't know why they changed it in Japan. I mean, I guess American audiences do. And although BB doesn't look that threatening, you would be dead wrong to think that she wouldn't hesitate to kill anyone who stands in her way. And not only do they have to deal with the big bad Riding Hood, they also have to deal with John's inner struggle, aka Dark Talbane, which is basically John's evil side. I know you all know what evil sides are, I do not need to explain it to you. And as for the ending, you guys know that I like to leave things open-ended for you guys to figure out. But just know that by the end of the movie, through one way or another, John and Felicia both survive, John has conquered his dark side, and Felicia decides that she wants to run an orphanage once she gets the money from being a worldwide, sensational pop star. Yeah, she also wants to do that. She's a very strange character. But moving past that, we are now done this one. Let's move on to movie number 3. Darkstalkers Undead. There we go, a much more reasonable title for you haters. And this movie's basically gonna follow Xienko and her twin sister, Mei Ling, as they try to save their mother from a deadly curse she enacted years ago while trying to save the Earth. And along the way, they're gonna run into Lord Raptor, who has a gigantic crush on Xienko. Zombie love, I guess. Don't ask. Other characters that'll show up in this movie include Ozam, who is basically Lord Raptor's master and the final villain of the entire movie. Oboro, who was a minor antagonist in the first Darkstalkers movie, but has now since been redeemed. And the Marionette. And why did I put the Marionette in here? Honestly, it was because I didn't have anywhere else to put her. So yeah, if you guys could subscribe to the idea of the Marionette playing a gigantic role in the movie, for whatever role I guess, then thanks a lot, that would be great. Oh, speaking of things you should subscribe to... Okay bro, seriously, am I gonna keep this in? Anyway, so the movie's basically gonna end with Xianko and her sister finally freeing their mother's spirit and her finally being able to pass on into the afterlife. And as a gift for all their years of torment, her mother grants them the gift of rebirth, as they are reborn as newborn babies to a new family and get to live out happy, long lives. Until their 16th birthday, but we're not doing that storyline for these movies because that's too complicated.
Also, it doesn't really go anywhere in the games, just letting you know.
Also, Oboro gets to move on to the afterlife, Marionette gets destroyed, and Lord Raptor blew up. All good? Good. Let's move on to the next movie. Darkstalkers Abyss. Okay, now hold on. Before anyone makes any conclusions, I am not crossing over Darkstalkers, the cinematic universe, with the MCU. That would be jumping the shark on so many levels, and I'm just not mentally prepared for that, honestly. However, 3 of the movie's main characters are only playable in this game. They are Ruby Heart, Amingo, and Sansan. Okay, well technically Sansan's not a Darkstalkers character. She's just coming from a different franchise, but everyone puts her with Ruby Heart and Amingo, so I felt it was necessary. And as to why Ruby Heart and Amingo have never been in a Darkstalkers game, it was confirmed that Ruby Heart is actually a rejected Darkstalker. And Amingo, well, no one really knows where he's from, but he's always considered a Darkstalker, so I'm just keeping him here too. Now, with that out of the way, who else is in this movie? Well, we have Anakaris, the living mummy who wants to bring back his fallen kingdom, Huitzel, a henchman to the first antagonist, Pyron, and Cecil, a boy who has reprogrammed Huitzel to only do good. And as for the plot of the movie, the teams of Anakaris by himself, Cecil and Huitzel, and Ruby and her crew, which actually includes Sasquatch, are all in a race to get to a mysterious treasure first. Anakaris wants it because he thinks it can bring back his kingdom. Cecil wants it because he wants to reprogram every Huitzel on Earth. Yes, there are multiple of them. And Ruby wants it for family reasons, as her dad always wanted the treasure. That's not canon to the game or anything, it's just something to give her, a motivation besides greed. And by the end of the movie, Ruby has finally learned how to be a better person, Cecil has successfully reprogrammed every Huitzel on Earth, and Anakaris gets to go home. Well, technically, he takes his entire kingdom, and they all go to a separate dimension where they get to live out the rest of their days in peace. Yeah, Darkstalkers is weird, but moving on. Darkstalkers Rebirth. For our penultimate movie, we're gonna see Morrigan and Dimitri work together to try and take down Jeddah, a being whose powers surpass both of them combined. As well, Jeddah is a very, very smart villain, and he has a secret weapon. Morrigan's sister, clone, thingy, it's weird. Lilith, who is probably the least threatening Darkstalker outside of Felicia. This movie is also going to bring back Ozam, as well as a new face, QB. Unfortunately, neither of them are going to stick around very long, as they're both going to be casualties of Jeddah's rampage. But we are getting 2 forgotten heroes, Victor and Ricky, in this movie. Give them a round of applause, everybody. They're both trying to save the souls of their loved ones. For Victor, it's of his sister, and of Ricky, it's of his child. And although this movie does have to end with Victor's death, it does also end with Jeddah's death and Lilith and Morrigan finally joining together to become one being. Yep, Darkstalkers is weird. I'm not explaining that. You can figure that out for yourself. On to the next movie. Darkstalkers Reunion. Ladies, gentlemen, humans across the world, this is it. This is the final movie of the film series. Now, normally when I do these videos, the ending movie is supposed to bring some sort of final bang, like to send off the characters with a happy ending, but this is a different story. There's no point in me trying to do any sort of build-up, so let's just get into the story. Now, I'm assuming most of us already know the story of Donovan and Anita. Donovan picked up Anita from a village where she was being treated horribly and had to close off her emotions so she couldn't feel them anymore. But through the two's adventures together, Anita starts slowly opening up her emotions more and more. As well, the two seem to form some sort of father-daughter or older brother-younger sister sort of relationship. But unfortunately, all this is about to come crashing down. And it all happens because of one creature named Shadow. No, not that one. Now, Shadow is somewhat of a secret character in the Darkstalkers franchise, as you can't play as him until you activate some sort of secret conditions. And although we don't know very much about Shadow due to him being, a secret character, we do know what his main gimmick is: body snatching. And to anyone wondering how that works in a fighting game, well, basically, you pick a character with Shadow attached to them, and then every time you defeat a character for the next round, you play as that character. But getting back to the story, after having a battle against Shadow and ultimately defeating him, Donovan accidentally ends up absorbing all of Shadow's energy. This, dear listeners, results in the creation of D, a version of Donovan that has been completely overtaken by his evil. And for the rest of this movie, a now grown-up Anita now has to figure out how to face her former friend and ultimately end his suffering once and for all. So yeah, this is not going to be a very happy movie. Think Logan levels of sadness here, guys. And to anyone who thinks this story is stupid, this is the official story. Capcom confirmed it themselves. Well, everything except Shadow. I just put that there because I thought it made sense. And yeah, I guess that wraps up everyone's character stories. I hope you enjoyed, and be sure to click on the video above. It was my last cinematic universe video. I hope you'll enjoy it. And until next time, goodbye.